All right, so I will call to order the March 25th Board of Directors meeting for the Capital Region Land Bank. For those of you who are streaming, we had a little technical glitch, so we have audio only in this meeting. We apologize for that inconvenience, but this will accomplish at least we'll speak loudly and clearly and be able to get through the material. Minutes of the last meeting were sent out from the meeting on February 20th, 2024. Can I get a motion to accept?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay. The minutes are moved into the record. We have the treasurer's report, but we have no treasurer today unless, should we give him, I can push this to the
Yeah,
end?
let's push it to the end.
Let's move that to the end. All right, and I'm going to turn over the director's report to you, Steve.
Okay.
For highlights and anything that you think is appropriate before we get to new business.
Okay. Habitat for Humanity, the 1210 Eastern Avenue project that we earmarked $100,000 towards, that is finally closing this week. 902 Crane Street, I believe I discussed that last month. We're having issues with that, with the title on transferring that from the city directly to the purchaser. So I'm looking at options where that would come to the land bank. So hopefully that's a future for us to hold while he does some renovation work on it. And then after the 1 year up that cleans the title up for him, then it would transfer over to them. So I don't really have, we're still working on that. I'm still working that through with Rob Gatch on how that would occur.
So we can just get some clarity around that, right? On what that means, right? Is that just notification? That's what's making the title be sticky?
Well, there's the additional issue that there was a lien on the property as well that is still showing up, but everybody's of the opinion it should be cleared and it should not still be showing up on it. And the other part is that you're waiting 2 years after the foreclosure. This was foreclosed on once and then it was foreclosed on again, but we're still waiting for that time period where it becomes clear for the purchaser to take title to.
I thought we had expedited foreclosure handling now, right? Latest and greatest requirements for land banks is we have 1 year of accelerated handling.
Should be 1 year, but well, it's not in land bank titles.
Okay.
So it's a city. So
all right.
Still we're looking at 2 years.
Oh, that's fine. Okay.
Right.
Just a question. So the purpose of us taking the property, given a title issue, is what?
It might just to expedite their ability to start renovating the property. We can take title. Well, that's why I'm still working it through with Corp Council or the corporation, the council on this, is it would, I think, just allow us to take the risk on it and get renovation working on it. But I still haven't worked that.
As long as we're not being exposed to the title didn't clear and the potential owner says, I put 100,000 into it. How do I get my money back? I'm not willing to take that risk.
So still looking at.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
And I think
yeah.
you don't have clear title. You don't have clear title.
Right. Let's see. 105 Prospect, the vacant lot we have on Prospect, that closing will occur this Thursday. I just signed paperwork today. And just an update that state funding for land banks, it looks like the Assembly had in their budget resolution 10 million for land banks.
Yep.
And the Senate has 50 million for land banks and land trusts. So there's money in there this year. And there will also be the balance of the land bank too that's unused by other land banks. They'll be probably later in this year doing another call for that, so we can get potentially additional funding this year.
So that's great news. Let's make sure that we understand the grant application process. Obviously, the budget needs to be passed still, but it just shows that land banks are, effective from a state management and revitalization initiative. So glad to hear it. Thanks. Anything else?
Nothing. That's it for the report.
Okay. We wanted to, sorry, I don't have anything to add from the chairman's report, and I figured I could expedite today's meeting. For consideration and action, we have 4 items, one of which was the audit report that we just heard. And that is going to be Resolution 2024-04, and that's adopt the 2023 audit. Now, I heard that we need to get a final from them. Is it okay to adopt what we just?
Yeah, it just as it'll be removing the word draft and filling in a couple of the dates basically
Okay.
that are still blank. But yeah, there's no reason we can't accept that.
Okay.
Any blanks will be today.
All right, committee chair want to make a motion? So move in a second.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye, those opposed nay.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We accept the 2023 audit. Thank you very much. Job well done, as already stated in committee. The next item for consideration is our annual report. Resolution 2024-05. Steve, is there anything that you need to summarize here?
I think everybody's been able to look through that. We just kind of, it runs through the highlights of the year, the projects that we've worked on, that we've acquired 2 properties, that we've revitalized 14 structures. Well, 14 structures were demolished. Let's see, that we've got 2 pending projects for redevelopment. It kind of runs through the projects that we have done and have in process right now. Our mission statement was updated in 2022 and remains the same. And basically, and then the number of properties that we own, which has been updated to include the 10 properties the land bank owns right now. And as I stated in the email, so we got the 2024 budget, which was adopted in October. And I'm trying to jump already to page 9. And that page 10 of 11, the board performance and evaluation. What's in your package is last year's board and evaluation. But we're going to get anybody who hasn't completed one to me today, and we'll stick that page in lieu of what's here.
You know, I just want to highlight the fact that, you know, in the 12 years, 11 years, 2013, it's in the highlight section, but, you know, we've put about $12 million in pursuit capital into play, and we've leveraged that well over 10x, and that's significant leverage, that's significant performance and execution, and we have the actual outcomes to prove it, right? Demolished 220, over 220 vacant structures, 320 new units of new affordable housing have been created or planned. And we've partnered with our foreclosing governmental units, the County of Schenectady, the City of Schenectady, and the City of Amsterdam, effectively for 10 plus years to improve and revitalize neighborhoods throughout those municipalities. And I'm incredibly proud of what we've done, what this board has done, and we're still on a roll here, especially given what you just said, Steve, with the Senate and the Assembly predictive of maybe $60 million in additional capital coming into land banks. That just says to me that efforts like what we've done here in the Capital Region Land Bank have been effective, and it has proven to be one of the most significant tools in revitalizing our neighborhoods. So I'm very proud. I know that everyone else is. I'd like a motion to move the annual report as it stands.
Motion.
So Kathy, and a second by Mr. Attorney. Thank you very much. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay.
Aye.
We approve and carry the annual report. Thank you very much, everyone. All right. Couple more items in new business demolition. That's 2024-06. Steve, why don't you give us a detailed summary?
Okay, we have issued a bid. We issued a bid on February 21st. Proposals were open at 11 a.m. on March 12th, and there were 3 bids received. Although we did have about six companies. I'm not sure reasons why some did not supply, but we received bids from Jackson Demolition, Christo, and Dan's Hauling. Dan's Hauling and Jackson were pretty much in line with each other. You can see I've highlighted in yellow that they are $474,700 for the base compared to $534, and $650,000 for adding in the alternates. So let's see. The one thing we did note as we were opening the bids was that there was a place to indicate any add-ons for abatement, and it looked to us like Dan's Hauling missed one of the some of the asbestos that was there was on the exterior. So when I was here with Dave Hogenkamp and Jason, we called them up to clarify without giving away anything what they had in there, because there was exterior asbestos. And he said, no, I did not include that in there. I was not there when that was mentioned. And that was attested to by Jason. And he said that would be $10,000 more, which was exactly the same amount that Jackson had in for the removal of the exterior shingles. So that's going to be an add-on of $10,000.
So it's adding to the base bid and the base bid alternates that I'm seeing here?
Yes.
In other words, 484 and 660.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. But otherwise, I mean, it was a good bid. It's anyways, that's, I recommend that we go with Dan's Hauling and demo.
I was just curious about the property selection, like, I mean, I see it a lot on page 2, but is there,
So you want me to walk through what they were
or no, just like the overall, process for selecting the properties and if there's projects that are planned at all or?
Well, okay, so if you go down here and look at them, so the 519 South and 608, the top three, those are the projects we're working on Barrett Street with AIK.
Mhm.
So that's removing, actually, those properties are, one of them's on our property and two, or on city property, and two of them are on AIK property. So we still have to work on access agreements with them. 13 Hable Lane, both of those we added those into the bid. They are county properties, so we're going to get totally reimbursed for the two of them. The Page Streets are lined up for BCNI for a project they're going to do where they would have to be demolished anyways, and those are 4 properties on one side of the street. You're probably familiar with them. 4 on one side and 1 on the other. So we just been
Okay, and
discussing.
BCNI wants to do something there.
Yes, yes. So that's their next project. 140 Elm and 210 Chisholm are ones we've taken from the county, and we have an agreement to sell. If you remember, we were going to sell 210 Chisholm and then give him a grant to demolish it, but that was another one with the title issue. So we're just going to tear the property down and then sell that to him next year and get it cleaned up right now. 140 Elm, that's, well, 140 Elm is just one that needs to come down. And then there's 4 from Amsterdam. So 217 to 219 East Main Street were the ones that they had put a priority on. The mayor emailed me and copied Rich today just to confirm that they want to take down all 4 of those. So between the money they have in the Land Bank 2 grant, we can take down most of them, and some of that will bounce into Amsterdam money. And one of them in particular, and I can't remember now if it's Prospect or Division, is in a historic district. So we don't need not a historic district, it's in a potentially eligible historic district. So we don't need approval from Amsterdam to tear that one down, but it wasn't worth going through the state approval process to have HCR fund that one.
Okay.
So that will come out of that will come straight out of the land bank funding, of the Amsterdam bank. And then there'll be additional costs as well with this, with the remediation costs and the monitoring. Or actually, the remediation costs are included in it, the monitoring. Monitoring that we do for as best we can in the abatement process.
So we have a motion in front of us to approve these properties being awarded to Dan's Hauling and Demo, recognizing that there was some additional in the alternates that still came in under the next lowest. And I would just ask that we make sure that, there's not some additional that comes in on that particular property, right? Any other clarifying questions? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay.
Aye.
You have a question? Oh, sorry. Okay, very good. The motion carries, and we shall continue to add to the tally effective demolitions within our neighborhoods that are translating into, in most cases, new affordable housing. BCNI be a great project. I know that we've talked at length about getting them some capacity, and I think it's a great way for us to potentially reinforce that. So, good project. Okay. Last item is Mount Pleasant project plan. I don't want to call it a master plan, but this is where we do kind of get into what we're doing with DePaul and what we'd like to do with BCNI, where there are 4 contiguous properties on Pleasant Street that abut right up against this significant $23 million affordable housing project that DePaul is putting forth that we helped facilitate. And construction is moving quite fast, quite efficiently, and we're excited about the investment in the Crane Street corridor. With that said, Steve, can you summarize what we're proposing here?
Sure. So what we're looking at is BCNI is preparing grant applications. They actually believe they have $600,000 coming from Assemblyman Tonko, and there's a Congressman Tonko. It was Assemblyman Tonko, Congressman Tonko, and they're applying for another grant with this, but we want to help prepare them to basically have more information to make a successful grant application. So these 4 properties, if you look on the picture there, there's 4 on Pleasant Street, all immediately at the entrance to the rear entrance to the Mosaic project, and we want to try and get those cleaned up as soon as possible. There's also 2 on Congress Street, which is really at more or less the northwestern gateway into, or southwestern gateway into Congress Street, and we want to clean up those properties as well. So what we'd like to do is to get them moving forward is to use $65,000 in pre-development funding to help get some architectural drawings and cost estimates done to make a stronger
Is
application.
it Pleasant Street or Crane?
It's Pleasant Street, where the 4 red ones are. They're at the back of Crane Street. Did I word it wrong?
Well, we called it out. We called out Crane Street,
928,
Congress
yes,
Street.
yes, all 4 of those are Pleasant Street. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But the tax map, the coordinates are all right, and the ownership is right
Yeah.
between City of Schenectady and Surrey.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So
They're
modifying.
all Pleasant Streets.
And the rest too.
They're doing a res too?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do that. Okay, I'm sorry. I did it. Okay, so, and then, so those 4 and the 2 on Congress are the ones we're looking at. I bluff, they're not really looking at, it's really an alternate in there. It's my bluff, I guess. So,
Okay.
and this will get them again, they were otherwise gonna have to wait until they knew they had the funding earmarked. This kind of gives them a jump start. They may, if they get the grant in advance, use other funding for this pre-development money. It would leave us $65,000 for other potential expenses.
Who owns these properties now?
Right now, they're owned by Sura or the City of Schenectady. We already do have access agreements, and they're in a resolution to give to the land bank. So,
So they're going to come to us and then we are going to then turn them over to, gotcha.
yes.
All right, thank you.
I thought it was important when the executive director, when the team approached and said, we really want to support BCNI and their mission. And they're working hard to get capacity. And this gives us the ability to give it a kind of a push, if you will, to get the ball rolling. And if we can do some pre-development investment in an area that we're already making a large investment in through, again, the DePaul and the things that we've done there, I think that I think BCNI can get started. It'll be effective. It'll be helpful in their grant application. And then we will have a significant partner with capacity to continue to do the mission of the land bank in the neighborhoods, which is where BCNI wants to find traction and help support affordable in that mission. Any questions?
Chair, maybe it would be helpful if you could articulate the relationship between BCNI and ourselves and how that vision, what that
Sure.
vision is.
Yep. So going back to the last grant funding round, we had talked about we really need to find a partner that we can work with from either a project management or capital deployment, right? How do we execute in the neighborhoods? How do we bring a viable entity that has a mission around revitalization, around affordable, around financial education, right, for our community? And they hit all those marks in terms of what they want to do, what they have history of doing, and what they're capable of doing. They've had some grant challenges, and I think they found the right mix of support now with respect to what they're submitting for, administratively, how they're managing that, and so from a land bank perspective, we have capital, we have a mission, and our mission is to revitalize our neighborhoods, and we like to do it in a fairly significant manner, right? One house here, one house there doesn't really get traction, and BCNI, we believe, can help us to deliver on that mission. Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, well, if that's the case, can we get a motion to move 2024-07?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye, those opposed nay.
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries, and we look forward to supporting BCNI's commitment to affordable housing in the city of Schenectady. Okay. I did have one new business item. I just wanted to kind of communicate. I'm sorry, I'm just a little out of sorts here. I feel like I might have talked about a little bit in the last meeting, but community garden, urban farming, food council. Did we talk about this in the last meeting? Okay. Since the last meeting, I've gone to a food council. I was asked to come to a food council meeting and talk about what the land bank can do and how could that help. Someone in Santa Barbara has put forth language in the assembly to try to support urban farming and have the food council kind of be the lead. I want to use the word agency, but I don't think really they're an agency in the manner that we think of. But they want to be the lead on that. One of the language elements is for land banks, not exclusive to, but land banks included in the language, to put aside 10% of their properties that they own for urban farming and or community garden, things that can help us with food insecurities, right? Or getting a beachhead and trying to combat food security problems that we do have in our neighborhoods, which to me, I get. I want to have safe homes. I want to have, vital neighborhoods. I want the values of our homes and our communities to go up. And one of those ways is to have a vital framework of connective tissue where families, maybe they can garden in their neighborhood. And I remember those kinds of things as a young boy. My grandfather had a garden on Carey Street, which is a few blocks from where I live today. It's absolutely how they brought food into the family and shared food with the neighborhood. And many people had gardens. This language, what I communicated in that meeting was, if it's truly, you need to provide 10% of all, property that you own. I said, it's probably not tenable, right? Because we can't take a parcel and call it 600 square feet and go, here's 60 feet for urban farming. And everyone laughed and they were like, no, I get it, but that's how the language is written. And so someone in Santa Barbara said that he was going to take that back and see if he couldn't massage that to be best use, right? Is this a best use scenario? Because if with a side lot or with a corner that maybe isn't buildable, maybe that's a perfect spot for an urban farm. And I said, with that language, I thought this board might be supportive of something along those lines. I'm not going to bring anything to the table, just giving you awareness of the meeting that I had. And I think the only other question was around how they were getting, sorry, I can't remember all the details. Most importantly, I wanted to make sure that we weren't being put into a very small, a boundary of you have to give a piece of every piece of property to an urban farm. That just didn't make sense to me. So I think that'll get solved for, and some of the other language will get parsed through. When it comes time, I'd like to present that to the board for consideration. Might be useful to help push the ball forward.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
On that note, you had asked me last week, or last meeting, Amsterdam, they had a relationship with the Amsterdam Housing Authority. There were 2 demos that were done on Division Street that the Amsterdam Housing Authority in their proposal had said that these would become urban gardens. That's what their proposal meant. That was part of the state grant that we put forward. Well, those 2 parcels are still empty, void of any improvement. So the addresses are 98 Division Street and 155 Division Street.
Okay.
So I think it would be appropriate for us to reach out to the Amsterdam Housing Authority and say, you know, we had an agreement back when when we were in an agreement with what was going to be done with 2 of those demolitions. And we want to know, you know, what's the a progress report on what exactly are we going to be doing? When are we going to see some activity?
Great. Steve and I can probably take that offline just to see if there's been any action at all considered besides what we said. They probably said this is what we'd like to do with them. We said, okay, it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
And let's see if we can't get some.
So, I mean, that might be a way that, I mean, we tear down a lot of buildings.
Yeah.
I mean, that 10% could be 10% of, you know, our bulk.
And that's what I said.
Yeah.
I said, so if it's best use or it's worded in such a way that we go, oh, we have these 5 parcels, there's 2 side lots and another one that's buildable. Well, that's how much we have. Maybe this one side lot is part of that. And if it's not, you know, must have, you know, to meet some kind of minimum, then I think we might be able to facilitate supporting that action.
In coordination with the city too. I assume that they were
Yep.
part of the,
Yep, there was quite a few people in the room, and so that was good. I'm glad I went fairly prepared. I don't
well, I
know.
know the city has a lot of, you know, also
Right.
post demo sites that are just like, why not? You
Well,
know?
and that's where, thank you. You just triggered what I said I couldn't remember the details on. The details were, who's going to own this? And I said, so just so it's clear, now we're doing urban farming on. And, you know, and great, we're planting tomatoes and lettuce and whatever it is that we're doing. But we probably don't have the management, administration, or the liability coverage to have people just out there, you know, picking away and doing their thing. So the food council, if you're positing that this, then you probably want to own this. And a lot of people went, liability.
Yeah.
Or,
And
you
it was
know,
interesting.
A community partner, like
Yeah.
Baylor Farms.
or a community
yeah.
partner. And that's exactly where the conversation went. And then someone added in the fact that, was it Sikkim or what? They're like, well, we're okay with chickens in an urban farm. And someone else was like, well, I don't think we would be okay with it. And we're like, oh, okay. I've done my work here for today. But I did articulate that I thought land banks would want to have
Would
some
maintain.
flexibility,
No,
and we would
exactly.
not maintain. We are about turning them over either to a viable partner for a not-for-profit, wellness and affordable reason, or to put them back on the tax rolls. That's our mission. And we're very effective at that. And we're happy to help as long as that's the outcome. So
Okay.
that's what I wanted to share with you guys. All right, so with that said, I will adjourn our meeting.
Mr. Chair, do we need to circle back
Oh.
to the treasurer's report?
Oh, thank you very much, legislator attorney. So with Joe absent, Steve, you want to take a stab at it, or I don't think we should move it without looking at it.
We still had an outstanding issue with him that he was gonna deal with on, and what it came down to for the last month was how checks were recognized being cleared or not. But I know he was gonna tell me about that. We don't have, I didn't,
So let's let that make sure it's for the record in the minutes that we're still waiting for the treasurer to get through the details. I don't think that we expect that there's no challenges from what we're doing. He just wants to, the reason why we get good audits is because we check every I and dot every I and cross every T. And he just wants to make sure he's got a good way to do that.
Right.
So I'm very supportive of his due diligence.
Okay, I mean, basically, so you've got the report there, you can see we have, assets of 2.5 million. We have
2.2.
2 point, what are you looking at? 2.25 million, yep, 2.25 million. I'm not used to usually giving the treasurer's report.
Yeah, that's okay.
And we got no out of the ordinary expenses or income other than Van Branken paying for the demolition there. Yeah, and there you have it. We don't have.
So our expense, I'm sorry, our revenue is up a little bit. Our total assets rather are up a little bit, and we had no excessive or unplanned expenses that were not already scheduled.
Nothing. It was, I mean, we're in a lull right now on drawing down our funding with the demolition. That'll go back up, but
Okay. Usually a little more detail on the treasurer's report. We apologize this week. I don't see any reason to think that we need to cover anything more, but any questions from the board? A motion to move the treasurer's report as stated.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Treasurer's report is moved. Thank you for putting that back on our windshield. And with that, we will call the March 25th Land Bank meeting, board meeting, Capital Region Land Bank Board of Directors meeting adjourned. Thank you.
thank you. So I printed out those